North and South Seafood and Smokehouse presents The Kelly Sheffield Show on 100.5 ESPN and Wisconsin On Demand. Alongside Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball head coach Kelly Sheffield, here's Jon Arias.
And welcome. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. I'm Jon Arias, joined by Wisconsin volleyball coach Kelly Sheffield. Coach, thanks for joining us on the show. Got a lot to talk about today. I want to talk about the seniors that will be recognized this Saturday on senior night for your team. We've got questions from the listeners, and we've got a whole bunch of questions this week too. There was a pro volleyball draft I want to hit on too. But I think before all of that, we'll get to it all. Let's start first with the most recent match. Your team went into Lincoln on a Saturday night and played the Cornhuskers, and unfortunately lost for the second time this year. How would you describe the match Saturday at Nebraska?
I don't think we played quite as well as obviously what we need to be able to beat them. And I think there was too many self-inflicted wounds in that match. It's interesting because both teams essentially passed the same. Both times we played them. I mean, we passed a 2-1-5. They passed a 2-1-8. Right? It's in our two matches that we have played them this year, we've passed essentially the exact same number. Both matches we did. And when that happens, typically we feel pretty good that, odds drastically changed us. And, but we hit 100, 120 points lower than them. We had too many, net violations or not getting on, overpasses, service errors at the wrong time. It's, and they had some uncharacteristic errors. I mean, there were balls that were just being hit out of bounds on their end. We got on some block runs, so they were feeling it. I'm sure our players were feeling it. But at the end of the day, we didn't play well enough. And, there's a reason why they've only lost one match in the last 2 years in Big Ten play. They're awfully good, but and it requires you to be on top of your game, which we were not.
All those little things you just talked about, the things that maybe you weren't doing so well or they were doing. So when it comes down to closing sets, what were the things that were happening that, to close out these sets, or maybe the things that weren't happening that Nebraska was just able to close it out because you guys were, you've had quality teams where you've closed out sets before. So what's the difference in the closing out the sets this time around?
John, I don't think it was one thing. If it was one thing, you'd feel a little bit better about going. It was a few things, which, I won't say there's a laundry list of things that are wrong. It just that there are a point here, a point here, a point here, and there you have the separation.
Mm-hmm. Some other news that happened actually the other day is that the Pro Volleyball Federation had its draft, and a couple of your players were selected. Devin Robinson was drafted, CC Crawford in the second round. Devin Robinson, I believe, was the number 5 overall pick. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? And I know that you also had some thoughts about the timing of the draft as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome for our sport. It's awesome for our players. It's so cool. They've worked their rear ends off for a lot of years to put themselves in position to continue to play the sport that they love at a really high level. It's so excited about the league, so excited about their future, so excited about the opportunities. I guess I'll give you a little back of the house type of stuff. It's, we were talking with some players last year, some of our players that were in the league, and there was some frustration with some things. And early on. And, one of the things I told him was like, look, this is your comparison is to college that has this long runway before you got there of, 50 years, or international ball that has been going on for a long period of time. You guys are trailblazers. This is like Title IX. It's the road is not going to be paved. It's going to be bumpy, and it's going to get better. But you've got to fall in love with the fact that you guys are doing things from scratch, and it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. And so you've got to reframe it from what you had and the resources that you had in college. And so there's an understanding that this is year 2 for that league, and we're about ready to go into year 1 with the other American League. I got a call the day that we're playing Nebraska, or I get a text message from a general manager and saying, there's a lot of rumors going out there about Wisconsin players. Can we just talk on the phone for 10 minutes? I know this is a big game day, but can you chat? I said, yeah, no problem. Give me a call. Yeah. So they give me a call, and we're talking about each of our players, and said, thankful that's really helpful to know what each of your players are doing. And I said, you're only the second club that somebody has reached out to me from. And we've got a lot of elite players.
Yeah.
And they said they couldn't believe it. They could not believe it. I've had one club in our gym, and only, one that I'm aware of that has been coming to our matches. And prior to this general manager, only one club that has been consistently calling and asking questions, which is unbelievable. Could you imagine that being the case for any other sport, major sport? That is just, it's almost unexcusable. And I asked this general manager, I said, why are you guys doing this right now? And they said, I don't know. I lost out on this. Because most of them have been college coaches, and this person said, it's why you guys are having to worry about this right now. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It's that it was based out of fear. They wanted to get to these kids before League One did. And so we've been having meetings with each of our players the past couple of weeks of, all right, what should I tell people? Are you interested in PVF? Do you want to do League One? Do you want to go to Europe? Do you want to do? And so we're having all these discussions right now in the middle of our season. Cece tells me the night before the draft, she got 5 hours sleep. She was so nervous about it. People are wanting Devin to make films and cut films for them. Anna Smrek said her phone has been blowing up from all kinds of people, and she's just ignoring it. She's just like, I don't want to deal with this right now at the end of the semester and with the end of my college career. I don't want to be going back and forth from everybody. So they're reaching out to her directly, but not reaching out to me or any of the other coaches. And it's just, the league is awesome. What they're trying to do is really good. It's just, there's no reason why this draft can't happen the day after the national championship, where the eyes of the sport are all right there in the Final Four, and you just catapult that into the pro. And so we can just be doing this a whole lot better. I talked to another pro team last night, one of the top people, and said the same thing. And they're like, totally agree. This will probably be the last year that this happens. But there's a recognition of how awesome this is for the sport and how awesome this is for our players. And that there's a growing and learning part in this, but there can be some nuance to this as well, of saying, yes, as awesome as that is, this is really kind of a tough thing that you're putting the players and the teams through, that it seems to be a little bit unnecessary right now. But To sit there and to see people get drafted that have no plans of going in that league seems to be a waste. I mean, feels like a better pick would have been on Yulia Orzel, who would consider staying here. It seems odd that players are getting drafted literally from places that you never hear from. First person I heard from after the press conference when I said that was from John Cook, that said, "Amen. Thank you for saying that." And I said, "How many clubs have you heard from?" He said, "The same number you had."
Wow.
I heard from 4 other coaches that had players that were drafted that said, "Thank you for saying that." We all just feel like that this could have been handled a lot differently. And we're seeing how the emotions that are going with it, with our players. We're right there with them and seeing this. And so there's just a better way. And I'm sure that they'll make those adjustments.
Well said. No, I think that adds a lot of background to people who know about the draft but don't know that much. And I think thank you for kind of filling our listeners in on kind of the ins and outs of everything there. But I think ultimately, like you said, it's a bumpy road.
Yes.
And that's what it feels like to me. What you just described to me is part of that bumpy road. And hopefully that gets paved down a little bit.
So excited for Devin. She's worked for this. She's going to do great. It's so excited for CC. She's going to do great. She's going into a really gritty, tough team. It was Anna getting drafted was interesting. She found the others actually reached out and told Devin and told CC that they were drafting her. Unfortunately, Anna found out from me probably about 15 minutes after being drafted. I called her and said, "Congratulations." She said, "What are you talking about?" I just, and I said, "Well, I'm getting drafted." And she's like, "What?"
She didn't know.
She had no idea. She's like, "But I'm not even going there." And I said, and so we shared a laugh there.
Yeah.
And I think they put a post on her being drafted and then took that down shortly after that.
That's why I couldn't find that post yesterday. Then I was like, I'll retweet the Anna post too, but that's, oh, wow. Interesting. Hey, speaking of Anna Smrek, let's break down your senior class. It'll be senior night coming up against, Michigan State on Saturday. So we'll talk a little bit about the Badger seniors coming up next on the Kelly Sheffield Show. And welcome back. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. I'm Jon Arias, joined by Wisconsin head coach Kelly Sheffield. Badger Volleyball faces Ohio State coming up on Wednesday at 7:30. Get your tickets now. And then on Saturday night, November 30th at 8 p.m. against Michigan State. Stay after the match to celebrate the incredible careers of Sarah Franklin, Yulia Ojo, Devin Robinson, Carly Anderson, and Anna Smrek. Yes, it is senior night. It is here already. And those are some pretty big names on this year's team and throughout the last few years for your program. So I kind of wanted to break down and talk about each one individually for a little bit. And I think you start with Sarah Franklin. When Sarah Franklin transferred here, obviously you knew you had an elite type of player. Did you foresee the type of impact she would have over her last several years and the accolades that she would also acquire throughout her career? National Player of the Year, Big Ten Player of the Year. When you got her from Michigan State, did you see like, oh, well, we've got a National Player of the Year right now?
I don't know if I'd ever put that on a player. So I typically am not thinking that way. But I thought we got the best transfer in that class. And I thought she was just starting to, she could do a lot of things. I mean, the one of the things that really impressed me about Michigan State is the year before she came here, she passed half the court, all 6 rotations. Well, if you're thinking about that, you're passing half the court when you're front row, which is just unheard of. And visually, it looked like she was taking more than half. And she'd just come inside and, she'd run goes to the pin, or she'd come inside for a rip, or she'd come all the way inside for a 5. she would hit behind the setter. She was just running all over the place. And so you felt like, all right, when you put a little bit less responsibility on her, that this kid is just, she's an aircraft carrier. She's just going to be really, really good. Yeah, I mean, her talent was pretty evident, and the ability of her getting better was pretty clear.
How would you describe the career of Devin Robinson?
Well, Grandma's been here a long time. It's a, you know what, she graduated from high school early, and this is year 5, and so she was here pre-COVID, or right around there. It's no, actually, I think she celebrated like her 18th birthday in isolation.
Oh, okay.
And if I'm remembering correctly, so she's just. I mean, our fans have just seen her grow, and and she's been a part of a lot of epic stuff, and the balance of joy and competitiveness, I think, really has people. They've enjoyed following her. It's she's clearly a fan favorite, rightfully so.
I don't think you'll ever find another player like Anna Smrek.
No. I mean, she's a force to reckon with. She makes people doubt themselves, on the other side of the net, and that's a powerful force.
The way you found Yulia Ojo, I thought was kind of interesting, and then the impact that she's had here at Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most selfless players we've ever had, and just an overall high skill player.
Yeah, a transfer, Caroline Crawford. She just impacted the game in different ways, but mainly through her defense.
Yeah, one of the best college blockers of the past decade.
And then Carly Anderson, she's been brought in for 1 year.
Yeah, Carly's been a great addition. Really happy. There's the work that she puts in behind the scenes. It's she's been everything that we are hoping she'd be.
All right. Once again, senior night on Saturday night against Michigan State. Stay afterwards, and hopefully, I don't know, I'll have to talk about this. Maybe we can get some of that ceremony over the radio as well for anyone listening to that broadcast. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it is your questions for the coach. That's next on the Kelly Sheffield Show. Welcome back. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. I put a post out on X asking for any questions for the head coach this week, and you guys delivered a ton of questions for you, head coach Kelly Sheffield. So let's get right to a few of them. Corey asks, any insights on why Wisconsin asked to host Thursday and Friday of the tournament instead of Friday of Saturday this year?
Yeah. It's so I think we put in a bid probably, I don't know, maybe end of September, right around there, beginning of October or something. Mm-hmm. So there's a few things that you're looking at is, the football Big Ten championship. Is there a possibility that you could be playing on that? Because that's on a Saturday. You want to give people the opportunity of being able to be here in person. I think we've got a basketball game against maybe Marquette or something on Saturday, which sounds about right. Maybe in the morning. So, that's not being directed from our administration. It's just something that, we want to try to make sure that, and then does it look like we're possibly going to be hosting second weekend or having to travel? Because you could be, if we make it to the regionals, you're probably leaving 2 days before, and so where do you get your training times and things? It's and so there's a few things that kind of go into it. And we just thought maybe Thursday, Friday probably fits a little bit better for us.
Okay. Serena asks, has the coaching staff talked about or considered some of the block techniques we've seen more in the men's game, like pulling hands down to avoid the tool, or more recently, which Kentucky also tried that we all saw go viral, blocking with closed fists to avoid micro finger tip touches?
There's some times that we are actually pulling our hands down. There's some times that you're doing that when it becomes really, really obvious on it. Charlie probably does a little bit more than the others. It's probably a little bit harder for somebody like Anna to do it because you're up. It takes you a while to pull those things down. So it happens a little bit. And the closed hands. Yeah, for people that Kentucky, there was a picture or video of Kentucky blocking like this, and I called Coach Skinner about that and said, "What, tell me about that." And he was laughing. He said, "We just made it up on the spot. It's not we spent no time training that, and we were just playing somebody that was just nailing it, and we're like, I don't know, just close your fist." And they lucked themselves into a stop block, so it feels like, oh man, we've changed the game forever. At the time, he didn't anticipate that being a thing at all. It's really hard to control blocks with that. You want to get your hands and as much of that. So I don't think that's an evolution of the game.
Okay.
We're gonna see.
A very familiar name here. Hannah Nelson asks, based on their personalities, if each Badger was a Thanksgiving dish, what would they be and why? You can do the starting lineup too if you think that you can't think of too many Thanksgiving dishes. I've got some thoughts on this. I mean, I think the mashed potatoes has to be Sarah Franklin, right? Because she's just
I was going to say she's the turkey.
Okay. The main dish too, the turkey.
Well, no, that she's just her personality. She's always walking up to me and tapping me on the shoulder, and why she's on this side and gets me laughing there. She thinks it's the greatest thing ever. No, her personality. My dad used to call me a turkey or something when I was younger. I'd almost call her that. I don't know. Let's hear your ideas here.
Well, I was thinking mashed potatoes because she mashes it, but turkey makes sense because of personality. Speaking of personality, maybe Yulia Ojo, everyone talks about how sweet and kind she is. Maybe she's the pumpkin pie, right? Because she's the dessert. She's so sweet. What would Anna be?
Anna
Smrek, yeah.
I don't know. Man, you called me off guard here, man.
Hannah caught us both off guard a little bit.
Yeah, nice, Hannah.
Yeah. All right. So we're actually out of time, but if you, the listener, have any ideas on who would be what for Thanksgiving, put that out on X at JONARIAS radio and let me know how you feel about that. All right. Couple of final home matches to end the regular season. Once again, we've got them both on ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee, WTMJ in Milwaukee. Perhaps those two could switch depending on Bucks games. But Wednesday, 7:30, the Badgers face Ohio State. Then senior night Saturday at 8 p.m. with the pre-match starting at 7:30. And once again, listen, we'll hope to carry a little bit of that senior ceremony at the end of senior night on Saturday night. All right, Kelly Sheffield, thanks for joining us for another edition of the Kelly Sheffield Show. Thank you.